This may sound a little naive or altruistic, but I truly have hope in our humanity. And I truly have hope in our tenacity, and I truly have hope in our solidarity in making these changes. Um, when when you look within persistent poverty areas and you look at, as Jim mentioned, you look at the communal ties where despite how many hardships we've still survived, what gives me hope and what makes me continue working every day, and I will work until my dying day for my people and to raise their economic and social standard of living. I want to get past survival. I think all of our communities have been surviving for hundreds of years. And I want our people collectively, this isn't just Native, but I want us to start living and to be able to take that sigh of relief and know what that feels like. And I think when we have stewards of our communities, when we have strong leaders, when we build up our children to be these strong leaders, strong in their history, strong in moral character, and essentially doing what's right. And that's where the humanity comes in. If you happen to be at a point to where you can help somebody else, whether that be tangible or intangible, to reach out that hand and lift somebody up when they need it, or to be a hand up or not a hand out, to promote those programs that assist in those endeavors is going to be paramount to our survival in the future. So seeing that and seeing how hard so many of us work, so many of you work in this room towards that same end, gives me hope because I know that we will never quit. And one day we'll get to the point of survival, hopefully being a memory of the past, and we'll all start living again.
Thank you. And Bill, you've been at this for a long time. What gives you hope?
No offense.
It's interesting. I'm similar to Crystal. I have hope in the type of people who are in this room, in this conference, that get up and work on these things, have been working on them as long or longer than I have. I know that I'm not alone in this. We've got allies. Who else should be at the table? We've got good people at the table. We're all working to bring more people to the table. And so I'm confident that together we will make progress. But I'm also get a lot of hope from the people I work with. I have the privilege of working with 180 of the just most skilled and committed people to their communities. So we met my colleague Thad yesterday. He is a native of one of the most distressed towns in this country, and he gives me energy to see how passionate he is about helping his neighbors. And so that gives me hope, and I get hope from the kids. You heard a story earlier about a individual who was 100 years old and got their first account at the credit union. Well, we do hundreds of children's savings accounts, and those kids come in with their piggy banks, and they make their first deposit in a federally insured depository, and they know that they're welcome, and their fates will be very different than that 100-year-old person if you play that out. They will grow up and they'll have assets, and assets make a difference. It gives you the tools you need to buy a home, to start a business, to not have to go to a payday lender that charges you 400, 500%. You have options, and that's what we want to create for folks. So we don't want to tell them what to do, but we want people to have options. That's all they want. They want a safe place to live. They want a job. They want health care. They want the same thing that people in Silicon Valley, in Brooklyn, in the most affluent communities across this country want. And so I'm confident that when they have those tools, they can succeed. And these kids and the people who are doing this work give me the most hope.
Great, thank you. And Jim, what gives you hope?
We get these questions ahead of time, and then you hear your colleagues say things, and you wonder, what did when I was thinking this out, sounds silly or lame at some point. And I think we've probably all had that experience. I couldn't agree more with what I've already heard, right? Like my own colleagues, the members I work with, people who are dedicated to make things work, you all. But I think the one thing that really does drive me, and I do have this sort of Pollyanna view about the opposites of hope and poverty, because the places where we're working, the people that we're trying to assist, if you will, if that's possible to assist, or are we just there to give them the tools? And I think that's what it is. We offer opportunities. And when I watch a family, a community, part of our region take those opportunities and do things, and they change their language, and this is the thing that I think I wake up in the morning energized when it went from, son, that'll never work here. Somebody else tried that and that did not work. It's not fun to be called son anyway. But
it beats boy.
that's true. Yeah. But when that changes and it becomes, I didn't think anything would change for me, but I got that home. My kid finished school. We started a healthcare center here. What else can we do? When they begin to build on those successes, and you see the hope of people taking responsibility for where they're at, and you're just there to bear witness to it and offer those opportunities where you can, I think that makes me hopeful. We all have stories where that person cried when they got their home, or whatever it is. And when you can just, when you step back long enough and see how that joins one person to another, and maybe that one of those people is now on the board of an organization because they want to know how to help other people get that opportunity. They go from being part of the problem to part of the solution. That gives me hope.
Nick?
Like everybody else, I mean, I think the people we work with are incredibly hopeful. I mean, if you can imagine having to work for me in the morning, sometimes it's not a good thing, but they smile and ignore me when they need to. But I think that one of the things that is incredibly hopeful to me is, we've moved out of just, and I think a whole industry really has moved out of just building a house for somebody, which is great, right? Fantastic, but in our work now, we're actually allowing people to kind of to design their own home. And if you've ever sat in a room with somebody who's never been asked the question, what do you want in your home? That is a phenomenal thing to watch, because it takes them like 4 times to have to hear the question. Because you want to know what I want? Where do I want the bathroom? Do I want a porch? Because they're used to being told, stand over in line over here and stand here, and you're going to get your paycheck here, your welfare check here, whatever the case may be. But then you sit them in a room and they got a blank piece of paper and you ask them what they want. So the hope that comes out, the empowerment that comes out of that question, the empowerment that, I think, Jim talked about it, but the empowerment that we give people, that one thing of just being, and it can be anything that we do, where do you want your bank account to be at, or whatever the case may be, but you gave them a choice, and choice empowers. And if we stop giving the folks that we work for the choice to stay or the choice to go, the choice to say, yeah, I want to work on my credit for the next 6 months because I have a 458 credit score, you have the choice to leave or to stay. And you give them that, and that's powerful, because the next month they're there and it went up, and then they're there again and it went up. And so, we've taken choices away from the folks that we're serving, and now we need to give that back. And that's empowering, very, very empowering. It is for me, so why wouldn't it be for somebody else?